What's up, bro? It is the Legend of Iron again, and like and sub and hype, and most definitely leave some comments after you get a chance to see this. Every now and then, as you look back on history, you start to look back forward and see what's really going on. And right now, you keep hearing about data centers, data centers, data centers. We need data centers, AI. But the problem with data centers, in my opinion, is why do we have to have so many? I look at China and they have fewer than us, but yet they have more people. And then the fact of the resources that it takes for these data centers. But nevertheless, let's start with this first video as we start to really look into this and make your opinions and make your comments. Because as a collective, once again, it's not just one-sided. This is all about the Holy Land that we are all standing on. Brown, black, and white. We all must get together and start to realize what's really going on this great Holy Land. And I understand that a lot of you don't understand what I truly am saying when I say Holy Land. But if you look at some of the other videos, I would slowly really reteach the history. And I don't know everything, but I know a little something about something, and I know a lot of nothing about something. But to collectively, we just got to start slowing down and really seeing what is going on our land.
All right, so North Carolina is currently experiencing a historic drought, raising concerns about the establishment of what are called data centers across the state. Now, these facilities require significant amounts of water to cool their servers, and estimates suggest that a single data center could consume up to 2.5 million gallons of water each day. So, in response to these water demands, a local bill is being considered that would allow predominantly white counties to draw water from predominantly black counties to address these particular water shortages. One impacted area is Enfield, North Carolina, and Mayor Mondale Robinson joins us now to talk about everything that's going on. Mayor, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for standing in for Ro as he gets some time to decompress and be with family. So I appreciate that. Thanks for having me.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, so for people who don't understand what these data centers are, tell me, because it is a huge processing center that needs lots of energy, and that's where the water comes in. How would you explain it on the basic 101 course level?
Listen, for so many reasons, data centers are done improperly and they are bad. They create all types of harms to communities where they are, the noise, the use of water, the diesel energy, all of that to power it. But I would say centering data centers in this moment missed the mark. It would be a local bill if it was just Franklin County trying to pass this at Franklin County. Here's the problem. The bill that we're talking about has made its way to the General Assembly of North Carolina. It is Senate Bill 214, and particularly Section 5, which basically strips the right of North Carolina majority black, three of North Carolina majority black counties: Halifax, which is the county where Enfield rests, 56% black, Warren, and also Vance County. And this white county, Franklin County, which is 70% white, is now saying through their Senate legislation representation that they should have the right to any property, not just water. It says property in that section, and interest in that property through condemnation. So they can condemn any property in these other counties without the consent or approval of elected officials in said counties. This is tragic, and it's also as American as apple pie.
You're right. So when we talk about the history of what white communities take from black communities, this is the apple pie kind of analogy that you've been referring to. What should people know about this bill in terms of whether or not it has support and what you're doing in order to try to fight it in a meaningful way?
Yeah. So right now, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to sound the alarm. This is why I came to Roland first, because if we're talking about how Black people hear what's affecting us that the world might not be talking about, this is where we should be at first. So we need people talking about this because this is a civil rights issue. This is a stripping issue and also if these conservatives are really concerned about property rights, how are they supporting this? So what I need people to do is to understand that next Tuesday at 4:00, the North Carolina State Senate plans on voting on this issue. And if it passed, it goes to the House. And if it passed the House, it becomes law. Because guess what? It is a local bill at the state level, and North Carolina local bills at the state level that are passed through the legislature do not and prevent the governor from being able to veto it. So even though there's a Democratic governor who may want to veto this bill, he will not have that ability because of how this bill is stricken, and it does not apply to the entire state, just a simple region. This is dangerous, and it's setting a precedent that say that white people who want things can use this tool to take it away from Black majority counties. This is disgusting. It is a civil rights fight. It takes away the humanity of my residents in Vance and also throughout the rest of Halifax and Warren County. And we shouldn't sit idle as if this is something small. This is how they are testing what they can do and where they can do it at. So people should understand that this is not a time to be afraid of what's next because it's here now.
And as you said, this is more than just about a drought. All hands on deck. What do you want people to do right now in order to show their concern, to show their disgust with what's going on?
Yeah, people need to be calling senators in North Carolina, whether they're in North Carolina or not, screaming about how disgusting this is as an act. Why are you trying to take and tell the voters through their representation at the county level in these counties that it does not matter what they want. It does not matter what their wishes are. These white people need something, and it is superior to what you desire and need.
Now, he just made a very good point. And this is what I'm trying to get across to everybody. These data centers, as they use that as the primary thing, data centers, if you don't understand what they are, let me have somebody break it down to you. Because they're important, but as important as they are, they're being used not for all the good. Listen to what this brother has to say.
So you don't know a damn thing about data centers, but you keep hearing about them in the news.
Data center plans.
New AI data center.
Data centers. Well, don't you worry. I'm going to educate you today. You see, most of us know data centers as the cloud, but strip away that marketing jargon, and the data center is basically a digital factory in a massive warehouse. Inside are racks of servers 100 times more powerful than your home computer. And they're running 24/7 just to process and deliver everything that you touch online. But in order to keep up with your cat video addictions, these facilities gobble up more infrastructure support than calories consumed in your favorite mukbang video. When it comes to power alone, small data centers can consume anywhere from 10 to 50 kilowatts a day. That's roughly the same power draw of your entire neighborhood block. As for large data centers, what we call hyperscale, these massive facilities are beer bonging over 100 megawatts a day. That's basically a mid-sized city running on Netflix and chill.
Nice.
Combining all data centers globally, over the course of a year, they can easily consume 250 terawatt hours. That is roughly the same amount of power as the entire country of the United Kingdom uses in a single year. But
Houston, we have a problem.
For every sip of power a server takes from the grid, it spits out heat like a jet engine running indoors. Cooling often consumes 30 to 40% of a data center's total power bill. So for every dollar spent powering servers, they're spending almost another 50 cents just to keep them from melting down. And in hot environments like Arizona or Nevada, some data centers can blow through millions of gallons of water per day just an evaporative cooling. And all that megawatt chugging, heat spewing, water guzzling chaos, it's what helps us move over 3 quintillion bytes of data a day across the globe. And thanks to data centers, you can FaceTime your mom, binge watch some garbage reality TV, and order tacos at 2 a.m. without worrying about the system crashing. And now you know. Oh, and if you're a fellow nerd like me and want a shirt like this, go check out Data Center Savage.
That's the nuts and bolts of it all. That is truly the nuts and the bolts of it all. My question is this: health-wise, do we really need so many? In China right now, they have roughly 449 data centers for 1.4 trillion people. We are sitting currently at about 348 million, but yet we currently have 5,427 of these things. And they are planning on making up to 12,000 of them. When meanwhile, overseas in like China, they're only thinking about making another 150 of them. Why are there so many even in New England? At the UK, they have 499. Europe overall is planning on having over 3,300 of these things. But back to this land, our land, white thing, black thing, is it a good thing? Is the question. That is the question we really need to ask ourselves. Is this a good thing?
Microsoft and Meta, they do have the money.
They have the money, but they don't have the power. And so you can't do it.
But they've got the money to build the power
only
stations.
states that maybe be able to pull this off would be West Virginia. They have is the biggest problem we have in terms of staying ahead in AI, particularly for defense. So this issue, which you saw manifest itself in the last 24 hours, is about data center costs. Each center, $2 to $4 billion. There's only 25 teams trying to develop these things. I know them all. They are searching all across North America to find the power. And there isn't any, Stuart.
But Microsoft and Meta, they do have the money.
They have the money, but they don't have the power. And so you can't do it.
But they've got the money to build the power
only
stations.
states that maybe be able to pull this off would be West Virginia. They have stranded gas. Alberta up in Canada has a lot. Texas has some. And that's it.
New Mexico.
That's it. Well, that's it.
Well,
No,
they could go to
Dakota.
nuclear, couldn't they?
Oh, yeah, 20 years from now. That's great. I'm talking
No,
about
but you could have a small nuclear reactor to power one
and
data
I
center.
hope that happens, but that's not happening in 24 months, not even happening in 10 years. You heard about 3 Mile Island? You're dreaming if you think that's online in the next decade.
So you think this is a permanent problem for Meta and Microsoft?
It
and
is
other
a
big techs?
massive problem, and it's going to be talked about a lot more in the weeks ahead. They can't find the power. This is the biggest problem we
Once again, now that brings us to the fact, as you just heard him, resources. This is hurting our land really bad. So my question, and I'm not the smartest person, but my question is the future for our kids. What are we leaving? What is the point of having all this if it's hurting the health of our land? Why so many? Why so many? Because there's places like in Texas and in Oregon where not only are they've already built these things, but then they turn around and they've been giving them tax breaks. Obviously, from what you just heard that man say, these companies have the money to not only build them, but then after they build them, we turn around and wherever they're built, they are giving tax breaks to them, which means while we as taxpayers are paying for the extra electricity that they need to consume just so we can have internet, can they be hacked? According to some of the research I've done, they are hackable. So that means, do we really need so many with so many possible doors with all of our information sitting in the cloud? Do we really need so many? And once again, what about the health risk long term?
Recently had a story that said 2/3 of the data centers now being built for AI development are in fact going into water scarce areas. Is being powered with around 35 unlicensed methane gas turbines that are pumping thousands of toxic air pollutants into the air, into that community. So this data center acceleration is not just accelerating the climate crisis, it also is accelerating the public health crisis of people's ability to access clean air as well as clean water. So one of the aspects that's really under talked about with this kind of AI development, the open AI's version of AI development, is that these data centers need fresh water to cool, because if they used any other kind of water, it would corrode the equipment, it would lead to bacterial growth. And so most often these data centers actually use public drinking water, because when they enter into a community, that is the infrastructure that's already laid to deliver the fresh water to companies, to businesses, to residents. And so one of the things that I highlight in my book is there are many, many communities that are already, they do not have sufficient drinking water even for people. And I went to Montevideo, Uruguay, to speak with people about a historic level of drought that they were experiencing, where the Montevideo government literally did not have enough water to put into the public drinking water supply. So they were mixing toxic wastewater in just so people could have something come out of their taps when they opened them. And for people that were too poor to buy bottled water, that is what they were drinking. And women were having higher rates of miscarriages. Elderly were having an exacerbation or an inflammation of their chronic diseases. And in the middle of that, Google proposed to build a data center that would use more drinking water.
This is called potable water, right? This is
Potable water. Yeah,
and you
exactly.
can't use seawater because of the saline aspect. That you can't
Exactly,
into that.
exactly.
Yeah.
And Bloomberg recently had a story that said 2/3 of the data centers now being built for AI development are in fact going into water scarce areas. And Bloomberg recently had a story.
There you have it. Why? Why? Public water. We need water. You know, the beauty of this holy land that we are on is all the fresh water that we have. Up in Canada, they actually found the oldest waters, and it's fresh waters that's been trapped there for millions of years. No, that's not in your history book, but you can research that. You can find that. You can find that. Fast forward, here it is, 2026, supposedly. And what do we have? Data centers going up all over the place that need fresh water constantly. And not just fresh water. They're taking this water from our future children. Our future children. They're taking resources. I'd rather use water to plant some apple trees, if you don't mind. Give it to the farmers. Start up more farms. How about just making sure that everybody who's actually in the country in some of those dry areas could actually have good water? Maybe the people in Michigan, there's quite a few data centers up there in the Michigan area. Why? We have too many, in my opinion. Once again, there's 350 million people one day on this great land, but yet we have 5,000, and they want to double that to 12. When China doesn't even, they're sitting at a mere 500 for a trillion people. Just so we can say we're number one in building data centers, that's taking all of our resources, not only from us, but even from our future. Then what are we going to do? We need water, all of us. And not just water, but dealing with this topic, they're also in the process of trying to take people's property. That's a repeat of history. We all need to come together and start doing the right thing on this land.
Your own county.
We're going to bring the panel in now. I know that they have questions for you. I'm joined tonight by Michael Imhotep. He's the host of the African History Network show. Also, Dr. Avis Jones DeWeaver, author and co-founder and editor-in-chief of Max Black Media. And Rebecca Carruthers. She's president and CEO of the Fair Election Center. Rebecca, I want to start with you. Questions for the mayor. I think you're muted.
Good evening, Mayor. What are things that different organizations could do to support you?
Yeah, Rebecca, thank you so much. And I know people may not know this, but Halifax County is one of the poorest counties. It's an old county. It's actually the first place in America that said we want to be free from England. The Halifax Resolve happened well before the Constitution and all of that was written. So people have a deep hunger for freedom. Of course, Black people were not included in that idea of freedom. So what we need from other organizations is to any resources that you can provide to help us sound the alarm about this, any resources to help us get people from Halifax County. We're taking two busloads of people from Halifax County to Raleigh on Tuesday to be there so they can see that this is not sitting well with folk. So anything to help us get the noise out and also provide comfort for folk in this moving them from Halifax County to the capital, we are here for that. And also calling the state legislature and burning up their phones and letting them know, hell no, not on our watch.
All right, Dr. Jones.
can't have it from this natural resource that we call Car Lake, but you can have it from those black folk down south.
So what at the end of the day does this look like to you in terms of a satisfactory answer to deal with the drought, the water problem? What are your council proposals and what you are telling them needs to be done?
Yeah, I mean, so right now we've done resolutions at the county level, and the town of Enfield done its own resolution. But I think what needs to happen, first of all, we need to do away with this idea that legislators can pass things without the governor having the right to veto it. That is as old and as racist as the filibuster in the United States Senate. We need to get rid of that thing too, that tool too. But what is a satisfaction action in this moment is that all legislators that are elected by the people of North Carolina vote against this, even the person who introduced it. They need to shoot this down and say that we will not ever tell residents in North Carolina that your rights are sub to someone else's right simply because somebody wants to make $1.
All right. Remind us once again of the vote is taking place next week. Give us the time, details once again before we go.
April the 28th, Tuesday at 4 p.m. at the Raleigh Capitol, it'll take place. And we're trying to pack it out with people from these counties to make sure that they know that it is bad.
All right, Mayor, I want to thank you so much. Listen, without people like you, we would not know about this because these aren't headlines that are across the country. You are the one that are making these things happen. So we will have you back on to get an update, I'm sure, as I'm sure there will be one. All right, hopefully.
Greatly appreciate that. Wow, Roland looks really young in that picture. Nevertheless, it's things like this that, as a whole, we need to come together. Hopefully, a lot of people show up to let it be known what's going on with these data centers. And I hope everybody take the time to actually research even more on data centers, of how they could be somewhat useful without taking up so much resources or being so dangerous for the future. Because I don't know everything, but nevertheless, anything that's not good for our health or that's going to harm our future or take away from the resources just because we just got to have so many of them. Why? Why? That's just my take. As always, take care of yourself. Try to eat something real. Be good to one another. Peace.